Hey everyone. Okay, I am embarking on my journey to finally record some of these videos, condensing down some of my lives into just the information that's pertinent to the subject matter that we were talking about. So I'm starting with trauma and clutter because clutter is one of those subjects that I just hear from everybody. You've got some form of clutter in your life. Now, I want to be clear. Today, I am only talking about clutter, not hoarding. Okay. The major difference being with clutter, you know you have a problem and you know you want to fix it. Hoarding is a whole separate ball game. Okay. Different psyche, different psychology with that. So, what are we talking about when we talk about clutter? Having clutter around us is really our emotional response to what's going on in our brain. So if we're highly organized in our brain, if we're feeling good, if everything's going right, most likely your environment, your physical environment around you is going to be clean and tidy. And that also helps you feel that way, right? So if you have a really messy environment, if your house has just got stuff strewn all over it, you can feel anxious, and that can even make you more depressed. I say it in these two ways because the ongoing thought right now has been, I should say, the prevailing thought has been that clutter is a response to your anxiety, your depression, whatever your trauma effect is. So as long as you fix that, if you fix your anxiety, you fix your depression, fix the clutter, you fix your anxiety. There's a causal link between the two, between the trauma effect and the clutter. I'll tell you, I'm on the side of the body of work that is coming up that is saying, not necessarily. Can there be a causal link? Yes. However, we think that there's an interplay between the two and not necessarily a cause and effect. It's not that simple. More clutter can mean your depression is worse. Your depression is bad, so you have more clutter, certainly. But it's not a one-on-one relationship. Clutter causes and is caused by feeling overwhelmed, paralyzed, immobile, your inability to take action, that depression, that anxiety. So causing and caused by, there's an interaction, there's an interplay between the two. And it's not as simple as just fixing the clutter is going to fix your anxiety. No. And it's important to take note that there are many different forms of clutter. Most often when we think about clutter, we think about our physical surroundings, right? We think about all the stuff that's just out there. But beyond physical clutter, there's also mental clutter. And there's emotional clutter. And there's relationship clutter. And there's also time clutter. And I'm going to speak a little bit about all of these today. Maybe in a future video, we'll dive deep into one specific type of clutter. But today, I really want to give you an overview of everything that we're talking about. Okay, so let's talk about physical clutter first, because this is what we're most familiar with, and in general causes most people the most anxiety and depression, looking at all the stuff around them going, I just can't. This is just too much. I'm totally overwhelmed. What do I do? Where do I start? And so you end up doing nothing and the clutter gets worse. And this is how you end up with houses that are just totally trashed And the worse it gets, the worse your anxiety is going to be, the worse your depression can be, and the worse your inaction can be. So, what do we do about this? Well, we need to keep in mind that clutter is that reflection of the chaos that's going on inside our minds. Okay? And if we can affect some of the clutter, cleaning that up, it can make us feel better. Not only from having a cleaner environment around you, but the success that you did it. You accomplished a goal. You got something done. And whenever I speak about this, I want to implore upon you, start as small as you need. If today I said, I'm going to clean my office. I'm going to get this all done. Now, in my office is not only some physical clutter that can get put away, there's all of my filing that is stacked up in piles on the floor. And some of that needs to get filed away in my filing cabinet. And some of it needs to get filed away in boxes for storage because it's stuff that I have to keep, but I don't need to keep it in my office. That project alone is enough to throw me into a tailspin and go, I can't. So if I am to look at my office and I look at that filing, and if I say, well, I can't do the filing, therefore I can't do my office. No. I'm going to put the filing aside in my brain. What do I need clean the most? My desk. I need the piles of papers that are on my desk sorted through, put away, the books put back where they belong. Okay, that I can do. I can tell you from experience, though, that there are times where I've looked at that desk and went, that's too much. Because there's a pile of papers there that have to be gone through. And I know that when I go through them, there's papers in there that need action taken. And so my brain's already thinking 4 steps down the road of what all this means. And that's when I become a statue. The only way I got this accomplished was I broke it down. And I said, all right, today I'm cleaning all the trash. Cups, papers that were balled up, cans that you need to get thrown away, and the trash in the room, empty the garbage cans, do all that. That's what I'm doing today. And maybe including that, I'm going to take the papers out of the envelopes, throw the envelopes away that I don't need, and I'm going to stack the papers. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not sorting them yet, but I'm just getting them prepared to be sorted. And that was a day in itself. Because I knew when I sorted those papers, there was going to be the stuff that had to be filed, but then there was also going to be that stuff that I needed to take action on. And then that went on a list to be done the following day. I wasn't going to try and tackle that as I was sorting those papers. At the time for me, where I was mentally, that was too much. And it'd be really easy for me to be totally down on myself and say, look at you. You can't even clean off your desktop and get that all done in a day? That's too much for you? Those are our negative thoughts going through in our head, putting ourselves down. Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it is too much. And I need to be okay with that. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anything done. I need to celebrate that success. I took out all the garbage. I did that. I did something. I got out of my chair and I did something during that day. Because I'll tell you, that's a huge step up from some of the days that I've had, especially when I was at my worst. I could do nothing for days on end. Nothing productive, let's put it that way. So you have to celebrate those little successes and break it down into bite-sized pieces. What can you manage? And if you said, I'm going to clean that bookshelf, and you get to it and you're like, there's a whole section of stuff I don't know what to do with, and that just kind of, you can feel yourself getting anxious about all of that. Do half of it that you can do. Do what you can. And sometimes we have to push ourselves a little bit because we can accomplish more than we think we can at times. But if you know there's that section and it's just going to throw you into a tizzy, do something versus looking at all of it and just doing nothing. I'm going to look at my notes here real quick. If you guys have been following me at all, you know that this is not the professional, put together, totally edited videos that you may get on other channels, but what you're getting is real. What you're getting is raw me. You're getting my experiences with all of this. And I don't apologize for it. I hope that it speaks to some of you. And, it's cliche, but if it helps one of you, then great. This has been worth my time. And that's why I put this out here. I want to note, too, that when we're talking about this inability to act, this being paralyzed, having clutter around you to the degree that you feel overwhelmed, you don't know where to start. On one level, it is a way of protecting ourselves. It is a way of insulating ourselves from having to make decisions. Decisions mean I have to be a grown-up. Decisions mean I have to adult today. And there are a lot of days where I just didn't want to, because of everything that was going on for me. So if I have too much stuff around me, it's a way for me to be able to say, look, I can't make any decisions. I can't do this. It's just, it's the way that it is. So when we take action, we are admitting to ourselves that we do have to do something, and we do have to make choices. Because making choices can be very uncomfortable at times. Sometimes it's just the fact that we're having to take responsibility. Sometimes it's the fact that making choices can make us anxious, because what if I make the wrong choice? So you can see how you can really insulate yourself from having to do any of that by keeping this clutter around you. So when you are making the decision to declutter, be cognizant of that. Be cognizant of the fact that you are also making the decision to make decisions. I'm going to have to adult. Even if it's for 15 minutes that it's going to take me to get this done, that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to make this too terribly long, and really I could go on for a whole half hour just about physical clutter, but let's talk a little bit more about the other types of clutter so we don't get this too long. Um, Emotional clutter. Uh, what's emotional clutter? Emotional clutter are those feelings that we just can't let go, those negative feelings that we just don't seem to let go of, and they're not doing us any good. That slight by that ex friend from 6 years ago that still bugs you. And it bugs you so much that you still think about it. It still takes up space within you. And it can also then be a basis for the way you look at current relationships. Because this person did this, and you're always on the lookout for that. Because it's first and foremost in your brain. That is the type of emotional clutter we have got to be able to learn to let go of. Because it's not just as easy as making the decision, okay, I'm going to let go of this. You really have to make the decision that for my health, if this is not doing me any good, if it's not positively affecting decisions that I make today, then let it go. It can be feeling guilt over something or resentment over something in the past. Those types of feelings do us no good to hold on to. They prevent us from moving forward in that area. And again, just like with the physical clutter, it can be a way of saying, see, I can't move forward. I can't do any of that. I've got this. And it's actively holding you back. I can't move forward to that until I deal with this. And I'm still dealing with this. There really is no dealing with it. There's just letting go. You may never come to closure on a certain issue. I know I have one of those in my life right now. And it's taken up space. And it certainly is a piece that I'm trying to let go. I'm also trying to decide if there is a way that I can get closure with this, which will make letting go a lot easier, or if I just have to accept the fact that there's not going to be the type of closure that I want with this, and I just have to put it in the past. And just look forward. Now, that happens to be with a relationship, and we're going to speak about relationships. But there's the feeling of being slighted from that, of being ghosted. From one day to the next, just everything's fine to never hearing from the person again. That's tough. That's really tough when it's a friend and you thought things were okay, to I have 6 ways of contacting this person and they don't respond to any of them. What do you do? How long do I let it eat at me? It's been a few weeks now. It's been a few weeks. And I've decided by the end of this weekend, that's going to be it. I'm going to either take some action to get some closure, or I'm just going to be letting it go and say, it was a great relationship while it lasted. Good friend. I don't see that there was anything on my side that caused this. So my guess is they were going through something that is causing them to do this. And that's their issue. And unfortunately, they're handling it fairly poorly. Maybe they'll come back into my life. And at that point, I'll have the choice of deciding, do I let them? So let's skip to relationship clutter. Because relationships that aren't good for you, we call those toxic relationships. Those are the types of things that we need to cut out of our lives. And only you can decide, how toxic is it? In what ways is it toxic? How do I have to cut this person out of my life? Is it total cutoff? I'm never seeing or speaking to this person again? Is it I have to just set firm boundaries that says, no, I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z for this person? That is the way of cutting the toxicity part out of that relationship. There's different ways of handling emotional or relationship clutter. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing with that person. But saying yes to too many people, perfect example of having relationship clutter in your life. You've got too many people that you're trying to do too many things for, and you can't. There's only so much that we can handle and that we can accomplish. And we have to be honest with ourselves where those limits are. And again, only you can decide where those limits are. And hopefully, as you heal from the trauma, you may be able to take more on in your life. It may not be more on with that person, because that person may be fairly toxic. But maybe you can take more on in your life. That leads right into time clutter. Time clutter is filling up your schedule so that it is packed from morning till night. And there's never a space in there for you. Because whether you choose to have you time to meditate, take a bath, take a walk, do your art, journal, read, whatever it is, you have to make time for you every single day. And that can be one chunk of time. You can divvy that up into, a half hour in the morning and a half hour in the evening. Whatever does work for you, but you have to make time for that. And that has to go into the schedule first. Now, obviously, there's certain things like parenting duties. If you're a caregiver for, someone, a relative, or that's your job, there's certain things that also have to be fit into them. Then, only then, do you get to the point where you can say yes to that person who asked you to come to the mall with them to help them pick out a dress for an event, or to come over and help them declutter because they just need an extra pair of hands. And it always goes quicker when there's two people, right? You clean and you chat, and before you know it, whoop, you're all done. So another tip and tool for decluttering is don't try and do it by yourself. If you have somebody in your life who is willing to come over and help you do some things, utilize them. Utilize the people in your life. If there's someone you would do that for, if they're a good friend, they're going to be willing to do that for you as well. If they're the person that you're willing to do that stuff, but whenever it comes time for them to help you, they never can. They never have time for you. There's always some reason why they can't. that is a relationship you need to look at. You need to analyze, is this something that is positive in my life? Or am I just giving, giving, giving without having that friendship truly returned? The last one, and I kind of skipped over it because we started with emotional clutter, going down the rest of this list, is mental clutter. Mental clutter is just when you have all of this stuff in your brain and there's no organization to it. If you're a list maker, like I am, get all that stuff out of your head onto paper so you don't have to try and remember it. Or put reminders in your phone. Whatever you do, however you choose to try and organize those thoughts and everything that's going on in your head, it can be through journaling as well. But if they're to-dos, you need to prioritize. And this is what I would recommend for most of us. Because if you're in trauma like I am, or have those trauma effects like I do, I make that to-do list and I look at that and I'm going, whoop, that's too much to do. I'm doing nothing. That's the same thing as looking at the whole office and going, nope, can't do that. So what I will do is I will have today's to-dos. What are my absolute musts? And then if I have time, what is something else that's high on my priority list? Then I have my other lists that are my high to medium priority things. And then I have my list of, this is nice to get done. My papers aren't going anywhere. Yes, as more time goes by, the larger those piles get, but they're still not going anywhere. So getting other things done is definitely priority on top of it. I'd love to have my room perfectly clean, but I know those clothes aren't going to go anywhere either. So having to get my resume out, rewriting that, getting these videos out for you guys, is so important to me. So that went on my today to-do list. Now I've got about 10 videos I want to make for you guys, and that's not all going to happen today because heaven knows I may have to edit some of these, and I'm not very good at it. So it's going to take time and time to be able to post these. But if you have too much going on in your mind, too many thoughts, it makes it really hard to get anything done. So whether it's list making, whether it's journaling, whether it's, maybe art or music is an outlet for you to calm your mind enough so that you can look and see what priority is. Sometimes it's so chaotic, we can't even pick out what is the most important thing that we need to do. So we need to calm ourselves and get ourselves to a point where we can think rationally. Here's my rule of thumb in terms of priority. I look at what are the consequences of me not doing that today? What are the consequences of me not doing that in the next few days or this week? Well, my resume is, the consequence was I could lose out on the job. I'm going to miss an opportunity throwing my hat in the ring to get an interview. And then I've lost an opportunity. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that. Whether out of fear, out of mental paralyzation, whatever it was, missing opportunities to do things. Not paying a bill. What's the consequence of that? $35 late fee. Is that something that I want to incur? No. Because what's the other costs of that? You get a few of those, and that goes on your credit report, and that affects your credit score. So if you ever do things that are needing your credit score, you've got credit repair. So definitive consequences to not getting that done. So those types of things are always on my priority of today to do or tomorrow to do, depending on when that consequent due date is. So how long do I have before I have to get this done? So that might help some of you in deciding what is top priority. And I use that when I declutter as well. When I am looking at a room and saying, this is too much for me, I can't do all of it, what is top priority? I'll tell you, with my room, top priority is getting stuff off the floor and being able to vacuum. Because the more I'm walking around there, the more I'm kicking up, any dust or dirt or hair that happens to be on my floor, and I could be getting it on my clothes and the things, everything else that's in my room. So vacuuming for me is always the first priority when I'm cleaning my room. And I like that to be when I'm cleaning any type of room, because I don't want to be tracking that stuff in and out as I'm moving stuff around, But it's whatever your priority is. You look at your room and you have to decide what is priority here. Just like I said, when I looked at my office, I said my desk was my priority, because I had a job I needed to be able to do, and I needed to be able to have the space to work. And I can see I'm pushing past that half-hour mark, and that's really the maximum I wanted to make these videos. I've really just scratched the surface on all of these different types of clutter, but hopefully I've given you an idea of what it is and how much of ourselves can be weeded out, how much easier it is to move forward when we declutter our lives. And that's decluttering all of those aspects. And then we're free of all of that to be able to move forward and then hopefully keep things decluttered. So we'll dive more into this in the future and talk about more tools in each of these categories to use to be able to manage that type of clutter, or to declutter our specific type of clutter. So that'll do it for me today. Hugs and love, guys. Remember, we're surviving together, never alone. You are valuable, you are worthy, you are strong, and you're loved. Bye for now.